Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tennessee Fats, and today I'm doing a Conan comic review. Now this is an interesting one because it's not a battle royale, it's not an entire series, it's not an omnibus. It's actually a one-shot, and it's actually a rather obscure story. Let me show you what we're looking at here. This is Conan and the Daughters of Midora. Now, I saw this. It's a one-shot by Dark Horse, and I said to myself, what the hell is that? It doesn't come from any Robert E. Howard story that I recognize. I don't recognize the name Midora anywhere, or Midora, or whatever that is, other than Dora the Explorer, I guess. Yeah, but I still don't recognize it in the context of Conan. What is it? Well, let's get into it and find out. And we're back. And of course, in every video, this is where I do the obligatory YouTubing. If you like conversations about Robert E. Howard, by all means, subscribe to the channel. If you like conversations about Conan, even non-Robert E. Howard stories, subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Post a comment down below. Honestly, getting the comments from you guys has been nothing but fun for me. I really do enjoy the interaction. And there have been a lot of times where I've actually spoken out of turn. Listen, I'm a guy. I make mistakes. It happens. So type it in there. Let me know. I only learn when and if you point out the error. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue to plunk along, assuming that my incorrect assertion is in fact correct. So there, it's on you now as to whether I make an error or not. No, that's actually not true. It's actually on me. But either way, I do enjoy those comments, so by all means, make sure that you put those things down there below. And stick around to the end of this one, and we'll have a conversation about possibly doing some sort of a live thing coming up. Some Q&A I got to get from you guys. But for now, let's get into the book. All right. This is the book we were talking about here, Conan and the Daughters of Midora. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, I saw this. I have no knowledge of any of this whatsoever. It just does not ring a bell. But I'll tell you what really caught me on this one is the Mark Texiera art. For those of you who don't know, I was buying a lot of comics in the, I'd say, early 1990s. So we're heading right up into that comic book boom that led to the crash, then led to just the long doldrum years. And Mark Texiera was one of those guys that was out there doing a lot of work for Marvel at the time. He was doing your Punisher stories, he was doing Wolverine, he was doing Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider at the time was one of my favorite Marvel characters. Still to this day, actually, remains one of my favorite Marvel pieces of IP that I've always just loved. Love that character and the concept, but that's besides the point. The art from this guy was such that I was drawn in immediately. And even though I'm not a huge Wolverine fan, literally I'm not, I was still reading the Wolverine comics just because of his art. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, Mark Texiera art. Oh, okay. Now, obviously, it didn't take me long to just look at the image and go, yeah, that's Mark Texiera, right? That's all there is to it. And it's a shame, you know, there was a Comic-Con a couple of years back in Toronto where Mark was supposed to be there, and I bought the weekend pass. I was there every day at the beginning of the day waiting to see him. I wanted to get a sketch, get him to sign books. Unfortunately, I never saw him. I don't know what happened there. It was the strangest thing, but live and let live. You know, if he ever does come around back to Toronto, back where I'm at, great. Love to see you there, Mark, and hopefully we'll be able to get you to sign some books and do some sketches. Either way, so let's get into this book. Now, this is Conan and the Daughters of Midora. This is a Dark Horse book. Came out 2004. So this was right around the time when Dark Horse was running the title just Conan. So you're a little bit into it now. And I think, was this before? I think it might have been before they started doing the numbering. Because there was a period of time there where Dark Horse recognized that they needed to go to the Superman Diamond model and start numbering the inside. And I think this must have been before it. So the story here is it opens up 30 years into Conan being out there doing his thing. And I guess word of who he is and what he does is kind of getting around. I guess what really made him somewhat popular was the fact that prior to this point in the story, he was out there running around with Bellet, doing his piracy thing. Now, this is my reader copy, so we're going to see creases on this as we're going through because, you know what, I'm reading this version. I've read it now twice. Anyways, so it opens up with that. So you're 30 years in, Conan's here, and I'll warn you all right now that Mark Texiera apparently is a real lover of the idea of the female form in how he envisions it. Because you're going to see a lot of imagery in here where I appreciate it. Listen, I think it's fantastic. I think it's his art style. Some people might look at that and go, I'm going to cringe. Whatever. Everybody has their own opinion on it, but overall, I particularly appreciate Mark Texiera's art. So it opens up with Conan in a bar. And you're thinking that Conan's being a bit of a dip. He's really just coming on to this dancer, blows, really rude to her, blows her off, and then the guards get involved. And of course, he's in this massive brawl with a bunch of guards. He actually ends up killing them, killing. And you're thinking, okay, so this is a pretty heated bar brawl, because these people are being beheaded, stabbed, And then Conan turns around and gets himself knocked out by the same woman that he insulted up front. Now, you're thinking, okay, well, you did all that fighting, and now you're just going to let yourself get knocked out. That doesn't... Something in this is kind of weird. And then he wakes up in prison. And this is where you start to go, huh, there's a larger picture here. Because really, one of the things he mentioned up front was that he was going to break into this castle within this particular kingdom and get something called the Black Pearl. Not the ship from Pirates of the Caribbean. The Black Pearl here is an actual black pearl. I guess it's around the size of a cannonball as we see it later on. He wakes up in the dungeons. This guy says, yeah, we're never going to get out. There's no guards. You know, this door was designed by this locksmith and this lockmaster named Blank. And he goes, yeah, I know. He's the one who sold me these tools. It's all fine. And he breaks out and you're like, okay, well, that was kind of convenient that you happen to have the tools. It's kind of odd. Anyways, he makes his way through the castle and he's heading up into it and, you know, slaughtering a bunch of people. And all of a sudden, a whole bunch of guys come out of nowhere. He's surprised. He starts slaughtering them and ends up getting bested by them and held down by a woman. And then the king comes out, the king of this particular castle. He's like, whoa, no, allowing yourself to get captured. This is where the narrative really explained it, because initially you're reading it and you're like, I'm sorry, why did you get captured? And if you're Conan, did that really happen? And of course, it's like, oh, you got captured because you just wanted to get in here and end up in my dungeon. Yeah, I know who you are. You're Conan. And here's what I need you to do. I need you to go and rescue my daughter. And Conan's like, well, what the heck? And he's like, yeah, here's my daughter. You know, I have twin daughters, but this is the particular daughter that's destined to take over the kingdom. Now, that's somewhat perplexing to me. I don't understand how you choose who's going to be taking over the kingdom when you have twins. I guess it's the twin who was born first, I gather. So, and it turns out that he had ended up having to choose a new chief advisor. And this guy here, where is he here? That guy right there, did not get the job and was somewhat angry and left. And the next day, King wakes up with a ransom note saying, yeah, you're never going to see your daughter again. And this lady, who has been here throughout, is also there. And it's at this point in time that it becomes obvious to Conan that, oh, well, this is the other twin. This is the other daughter. And he's like, yeah, okay, fine. I'll go get your daughter for you, you know, as long as I get my freedom and, you know, what I came here for in the first place. And the king says, yeah, no problem. But, you know, my other daughter's going along with you as well as two of my best men. I'm like, okay, well, this is a typical Conan story. Things are just running along fairly quickly. It's going fairly well. And Conan's like, oh, so that's the border of, where is it? Brithunia. So at this point in time, you're starting to get a sense of where this is, because this all takes place in a kingdom of, hold on, where was it? Govia. Now, or Guvia. I'm going to say that's Guvia. Anyways, there's no map that I could find that had an actual dot for Guvia, other than that it's a kingdom somewhere between, where was it? Brithunia and I believe Hyperborea. I don't know. And if you look at some of the maps, I believe it's in the middle of the mountain range that runs in between them, if you have those maps handy. Anyways, so she's like, yeah, we're going to go. And, you know, the guy just had his castle over there. He ran over the border and everything's fine. And Conan starts making his usual commentary with regards to, you know, it's like, you know, if you're living in this sheltered life with your father, and she starts mouthing off and says, you know, you don't know anything about me. He's like, yeah, whatever. And then you start to see the first source of sort of sorcery here, or the really where you're looking at this guy with the pointy teeth and you're thinking, So anyways, yeah, this guy rides off to warn bad guy. So they camp out for the night, and, you know, Conan's talking to this daughter, and they're obviously, being Conan, the world's greatest Rico Suave, i.e. the Hyperborean Gigolo, he's making some inways here, obviously not finishing the job, but making some inways, let's put it that way. And she's now being kidnapped in the middle of the night. And Conan wakes up because his guard fell asleep, and they're in the middle of this giant ambush, and there's a whole bunch of fighting. Effectively, you know what's going to happen here. Conan's going to survive. Looking pretty good while he's doing it, by the way. Big throwback to, I believe that's Conan the Destroyer, where we see that image. Or is it Conan the Barbarian? I can't remember. Anyways, big throwback to that. Ends up making his way out of it. The two guys that are with him are dead. That guy's obviously dead. And then the other guy, this guy right here, who was a mute all along and suddenly ends up speaking, is also dead when they come back. And you find out that the daughter, who's being kidnapped, actually knows this guy. So these are people who are defectors from her own kingdom. She knows them. And they've now been demonized in some sort of weird way. Anyways, Conan kills this one before he can have his way with her. And they go back to find that that mute guy, as I mentioned earlier, is dead. And of course, now comes the shtupping. We all knew this was happening. Anyways, the day goes by, because, you know, there's one thing you do after an ambush where you're almost kidnapped, when that happened, like, literally in the middle of the night, and it's now daytime, is you drop everything and take an entire day for shtupping. That just, obviously, ipso facto, this happened, so I'm going to move on to that. Anyways, Conan says, here's my plan. I'm going to make a spear, light it on fire. There's a spear he's made. I'm going to light it on fire and throw it through the guard, which will weaken the door and they'll be able to get in it. And suddenly this giant, I don't know, horny toad armadillo thing comes bursting through the door, looks at the daughter, does not attack, turns on Conan. Conan then slices it, because that's what he does. I don't know if you know that. And thing collapses, and they're like, hey, that sounded almost human. And then, Sorcerer Dude comes out, and Hannah, the daughter that they were supposed to go rescuing, turns out to have been the giant horny toad armadillo monster thing, and turning back into, you know, the daughter. And Sorcerer Dude's like, oh my goodness, why'd you do this? You don't understand. Which says to me, Sorcerer Dude didn't know Hannah was going to do this. So it says to me that perhaps Hannah, the twin daughter that was supposed to take over the queen, become the queen, perhaps had some sort of magical power all along that everybody sort of knew about. At least the father did, perhaps. Maybe that's why she's supposed to be the twin that's taking over versus the one that's not. Kind of strange. Anyways, so Guy's like, well, what have you done? Like, I'm really sad about this. You know, when her father said I couldn't be the chief advisor, I couldn't obviously be together because I wouldn't be high enough in rank. And then the other daughter, the twin daughter, says, because she's not, right now she's grieving because her sister's dead, mouths off and says, no, you signed your death warrant the day you left town. And Conan's like, no, it's let's just go ahead and slice your head off. So anyway, so they summarily throw the daughter's corpse over the back of this horseback here. As you can see, that's who I'm guessing is splayed over that horse with the head. And they're now going to be going back empty-handed. Well, not really empty-handed. They're going to be going back with the daughter that rode out with Conan, but not the one they were going to rescue. Anyways, so daughter who rode out with Conan is now like, wait a minute, I have a favor to ask you. So they get home. Conan announces, oh, by the way, here's the daughter that I was supposed to rescue. Wink, wink. Back and alive. And oh, by the way, other daughter, what is it? Valenza, unfortunately did not make it. So the old switcheroo here. But I did cut this guy's head off, and here's the head for you, because you did ask for that. And he's like, yeah, I did ask for that. But you know, what was I thinking sending Valencia out to rescue Hannah? Really, why did I do that? He's starting to show some remorse here, and perhaps daughter, who's now faking that she's the other daughter, is starting to feel like a bit of a dick. Just my thought process. Anyways, end of the day, quick wrap up here. Conan comes out and says, oh yeah, here's your reward. They hand him this, here's the black pearl that's the size of a bowling ball, or at least a 5-pin bowling ball. I believe you guys in the States call that duck pin bowling ball. Anyways, gets that. Everybody's happy, and he rides off. Even though Conan's saying, like, listen, like, your dad's going to figure this out. She's like, no, he'll just believe whatever lies. He's like, yeah, whatever, have a good time. And I'm out of here. And then you get this great Robert E. Howard anecdotal story at the end here where he's like, wouldn't it be great if we had tails and we could strut? And then his buddies are like, hey, yeah, what about the women when they have tails? And he's like, don't be a damn fool. Now that is just damn funny. Anyway, that's the story. And you get the context of when this is, because this month you're also supposed to be able to go out and buy Conan number 9, which is the 2 Nemedians, which I believe was, I think it was late in 2004 when that particular issue was coming out. Anyways, as you can tell throughout this one, Mark Texiera art throughout. Like, and the guy's art style is, I'm sorry, he did Union number 1 for Image. He did all those other titles I already talked about. The guy's art style is phenomenal. I just, and you know, maybe I'm biased because I grew up with it in my teenage years. And as Roy's pointed out, you know, sorry, but if it's something that was really important to you for informative years, it actually becomes possibly more important to you in your adult years. And I think it is, perhaps, that's the case. Maybe I am a little too into Texiera's art here. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I think other people would enjoy this as well. So what do I think of the story overall? Well, it isn't a Robert E. Howard story. It is a one-shot. And when I read through it, it does seem to be somewhat rushed. Now, it is thicker than a regular comic. It's not your typical 24 pages. It's got a lot of stuff there. I think we're probably getting close to maybe a 36 pager here. But it's nice. It's hefty. It's got a good amount of depth. I think possibly what might have happened here was Dark Horse, when they were coming up with this one, said to themselves, hey, you know what would be really great? Why don't we do this like nice little mini-series here called The Daughters of Midora for the story we wrote? And unfortunately, maybe they had to shrink it into the one-shot. Maybe. I don't know. I'd really like to talk to these guys and find out exactly what happened here, because I think this possibly could have been a much larger story if it was given the chance. Anyways, that's what I think of this one. Everybody, I would encourage you to go buy this. I do think this is a good one. I like the homage art within it. I like the little splices in here of some other Conan lore within it. And I like the fact that you have these weird twins and that weird unanswered question. Well, hold on, is daughter here that was killed at the end of the day, was she magic all along? Did Sorcerer Guy fall in love with her because she was magic and he knew she was magic? Because I don't know. There's something to that. This is like that. What is the story that I was thinking about? Oh, Black Colossus. That's right. The Robert A. Howard story, Black Colossus, where every time you pull a little thread of one particular character, there's so many more layers to it. It's like that ogre onion analogy. You just don't know what else is in those layers. Good story. Good story overall. So everyone, that's this book, Conan and the Daughters of Midora. It's a one-shot. It doesn't seem to fit into any other canonical sort of story to me, but you know what? It's a goodie. Nice adventure. Thumbs up on that. Yeah, let's get to the other topic I want to talk about today. I am probably going to be doing a live, and because I did try the live this weekend, and it did work. I was able to actually get on there and actually chat, and people could hear me, which was positive. I think what we'll do on this one, though, is I'm going to ask you guys here, and I'm going to ask you to put this in the comments here. If you've watched this far, and you've enjoyed the video, that's great. And I made all my usual YouTubes up front. But now I'm going to come forth, I'm going to say, do me a favor here. Down below there, are there any questions that you have for me that you want me to delve into, or any particular even issues of Conan, for example, that you might not have seen before that you want to see that I might have in the run that I could showcase for you in a live? So if you type it in a comment below, I'll set a date probably about a month and a half out. I'll accumulate all those, and even if we have people attend or not attend, I'll be able to save the video after I go through all the questions and Q&A that I do get, and I'll be able to showcase what I am being asked to showcase. And at the end of the day, we'll be able to just put that video out, and you guys can watch it later. Because I know many of us are watching these videos auto-translated, and live and auto-translate don't work all that well. So watching it after the fact, I think, might be good for a lot of the viewers of this channel. Anyways, that's all I had for today. I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you in the next one.